This is not the drill. If you do not want to hear more of this, because it goes on for a really long time, feel free to hit away from this video, or perhaps punch your monitor right now to make it stop. Unless your monitor's not attached to your PC, and in which case you've just destroyed your monitor and this is still playing in your headphones, making the situation that much worse.
Here we go. So this was the he's talking about, like, Hollywood Reporter asked, you were the biggest box office star for a stretch in the 80s and 90s. It's a level of stardom only a few actors reach. What did that time feel like? And I actually thought this was really interesting answer. I really like this answer. He said, I couldn't give you an honest evaluation because I don't analyze myself.
John,
like
come on.
What?
I couldn't give you an honest evaluation because I didn't analyze myself like that. I never felt like a star. I felt like I'm the lucky one. I'm one of the few people that can apply his professional life to his personal life. But I never felt like I was on top of the world. Even my bodybuilding days, I was winning Mr. Olympia. I always was hungry to do more and do better.
Okay, we're gonna let Cider take the Arnold pieces because I'm absolutely terrible at this. But I like that he's got this hunger. He wants to constantly improve himself, do better, and I think that's like a great answer there. And he's not looking at kind of like let's scroll back up a little bit. The question there, he's asked about what did that time feel like? He's just like, well, I was always trying to improve myself and do better. That's what it felt like.
And you can go back and listen to his news reports, all of his stuff. He was talking about, like, I'm at the gym 7 hours a day. I am rehearsing the other 6. I sleep when I pass out. That's, he was absolutely like running himself as thin as possible out there, trying to accomplish as much as he did. So that's no joke. He was absolutely living what he said.
Yeah, and there's some critique to that where he's kind of maybe doing too much and needs to kind of slow down and take some time to realize. But he also said he was enjoying that stuff too. So, but yeah, I like this answer. I like that he was always hungry to do more and to do better. I think that's a great answer there. Keep like, even if you feel like you're on the top of your game, you can always get better. I like that. All right, so this was actually really interesting. This is the first article I wrote today. It was on this answer here. He says, everybody knows your hits. What's your most underrated role? And he says, Last Action Hero. And he says,
Last Action Hero. It was slaughtered before anybody saw it. It was literally a political attack because I was campaigning for former President George W. Bush, but Bill Clinton won. Last Action Hero was great. It wasn't fantastic, but it was underrated. Now, more and more people are seeing it and saying, I love this movie. I'm getting the residual checks. I know it's true. He gave a little Mexican for a minute there. Sorry. It made money. That's what's always important thing for me because it's show business, right?
I like that too, that he actually talks about making the money there. But again, this is something we see constantly now. And scroll back up a little bit. We see constantly now that these reviewers literally run hit pieces against films that don't toe the Democrat Party line, the transgender ideology line, the gay GLAAD lobby line. If you don't toe that line, they're going to pan your film, and if you do toe it, they obviously rave praises about it and say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, even though the audience scores say the opposite thing. So even then, Arnold is saying here that this was something that was happening all the way back in 1993 when Last Action Hero came out. I know some people were talking on Twitter that I think this movie came out a week after Jurassic Park did. So that might have had a little bit of why it didn't do so well on the box office. But there was a lot of panning of the film from critics. If you go back and look at some of that stuff, Metacritic has a lot of reviews from 1993. But most of their little snippets are actually about the film. So I think they've changed now where you can read the reviews now where it's just like there weren't enough gay people. This is why this film is not good. Stuff like that. They'll just come out and say it straight to your face. Whereas like they were actually trying to, I guess, if we believe Arnold here, they were trying to hide it through critiquing of the actual like content of the film rather than just coming out and straight saying like this guy supports Bill Clinton, he sucks, which is what they would do now. Which is where we're at now with film criticism, right?
I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not either. It's not surprising at all. it's just so much more like, again, this is something we talk about now. They don't hide it. They don't hide anything anymore now. They just tell you, they tell you to your face, and it's almost like, I actually think it might actually be better that they just straight tell you what they like. It makes my job easier. Like, I don't have to like try and convince someone that they're like to read between the lines and this is what they're actually saying. These people just come out and say it to you straight. There isn't really any way of like, there isn't any way of like trying to like spin it or interpret it. It's just like, yeah, this person said this and he hates you. Like, it doesn't get any clearer than that.
That's why I don't like these laws that trim people's speech, this hate speech stuff. You want to know why? You know, people being able to voice their opinions makes life so much easier because you can tell the a-holes from the people you want to hang out with. It makes it real easy when people are allowed to say what they like. You could say, I don't like what you're saying, so you're going to go over here, and I'm going to hang out with these people who don't say those things.
Yeah.
I don't know why we want to trim speech down. That makes it harder to tell who's a a-hole and who isn't.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, Bounty into Comics here, totally our whole the whole plot. I think most of us agree that we don't want to. We're all against hate speech policies. We are for. I would argue for the First Amendment. That doesn't mean I'm not against things like pornography being banned and stuff like that. That is clear against the the common good. But obviously, First Amendment is something that I think is a good barometer, and I don't think that applies to things like pornography. I'm sure people can argue that, but I'll disagree with them. But the Terminator franchise, it feels done now, is what Hollywood Reporter says. And Arnold answered,
"The franchise is not done. I'm done. I got the message loud and clear that the world wants to move on with a different theme when it comes to the Terminator. Someone has to come up with a great idea. The Terminator was largely responsible for my success, so I always look back at it very fondly. The first 3 movies were great. Number 4, Salvation, I was not in, but I was governor, so that's okay. Then 5 came out, which is Genesis, and then 6, Dark Fate. Didn't close the deal so far as I'm concerned. We knew ahead of time. We knew that ahead of time because they were just not well written."
I love that he's actually admitting this. Stay here. He admits that both Genesis and Dark Fate were not well written, and he knew it ahead of time. But instead, we have people like Tim Miller, the director of Dark Fate, coming out and attacking Terminator fans as closeted misogynists in the lead up to the film, when if Arnold Schwarzenegger knew the film sucked because it had a crappy script, you know the director knew it as well. And even James Cameron did. James Cameron was out here trying to promote this thing, saying it was going to be the first of a trilogy before it even came out. And we've got someone here is actually finally admitting that this film just sucked and it had a terrible script and like it just sucked.
It's very bad.
We knew that it sucked.
It's like the most polite way I could say it's terrible.
Yeah. He's like, we knew that ahead of time because they were just now. No, stay up here. I still want to talk about this too. It is interesting here too that he says that I got the message loud and clear that the world wants to move on with a different theme. I feel like this is something that James Cameron kind of alluded to in an interview back in like December or whatever when he was promoting Avatar: The Way of Water. He was saying that like we made our granddad's Terminator film, and no, you made a woke Terminator film. People actually, I think people would be interested in seeing a Terminator. I actually agree with him. I know a lot of people, it's like it ended up with Terminator 2. I thought Terminator 3 was a pretty good sequel, followed in the kind of the same pattern as T2. Obviously, you had a female Terminator instead, but you had Arnold's Terminator again helping defend John Connor and everything like that. So obviously, I get that the timelines there can be a little bit sketchy, but it's time travel and stuff like that. Things can play around with that. But I also see, I guess when he says different theme, you can have like it more like a Salvation era where it's John Connor actually leading the resistance. And I guess you see a little bit of that in Genesis, I think in the beginning, and obviously in Salvation, and that's where it all takes place. But maybe seeing a little bit more of that in there. I think you could even, if you want to stick with the actual timeline in Terminator, maybe like literally have something start right when Terminator 3 finishes, where Connor now has to really bring this resistance together, form the hit and run squads, and maybe have it something like similar to Patriot or something like that. You could do something like that too, and I think that could work really well. But I am glad that he admits that it was not well written, because we had Cameron saying that, oh, we just made your granddad's film because we had Linda Hamilton and Arnold in it, and like young people don't want to see these older actors. Like, that's absolutely like ridiculous. I think people want I think Terminator, for the most part, you need Arnold in the Terminator,
just
or even
really,
a DH Arnold.
A gentle push to this would have fixed everything. Really, they could have done everything they wanted to do with their dumb little narrative too, and not pissed off so many people.
Yeah,
Very
like not
simple.
kill John Connor.
Well, you can still kill him, but you don't kill Kid John. What
Right,
do
you
is
can't kill him. You can't kill Kid John.
Right, you
That's
have
the whole
old
purpose
John
of the franchise.
You have old John rushed to say, like, I don't have time. We can't get the T-800 skinned up in time. He jumps into the portal, and he arrives just in time to jump in front of the shotgun blast. Catches it right in the chest so he can still talk, but he's got next to no time left, right? They're not going to take him off the beach. And he says to his mother, no. It was always supposed to be like this. This is the moment when I realized they were never going to stop. I couldn't run. This is when I knew the dark fate. Ugh. There it is.
Yeah,
there's the title.
You could have had. It's been a while. I mean, JC says T3 was not good. It's been a while, but I feel like it followed. It was like a paint by numbers of the second one. It was very similar to the second one. It was almost a reboot, if you want to call it like that.
It's seconded too hard for a third.
Yeah, it was basically Force Awakens to the original Star Wars. T3 was to T2.
But I
again,
like Iron Man
I've only
2,
seen it like once, so you like Iron Man 2.
I'm one of those weird people that likes Iron Man 2. So my opinion, take it with a grain of Tony Stark.
There's some good things in Iron Man 2. You get the Black Widow stuff. That's pretty good. I like the racing stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yep. But yeah, so I really like here. This was like kind of the headline that I went with. Like, finally someone's admitting that these movies just sucked. They weren't well written. Instead of James Cameron saying it's like, you made your granddad's Terminator film. It's like, no, people still appreciate Terminator 2. Like, that still is like a pinnacle of action films. People still appreciate Terminator 1 for the sci-fi adventure that it is. And then you had Tim Miller blaming everyone, but blaming the actual like potential like Terminator fans who are like, this is crap. You're clearly just remaking the first one and replacing the male characters with the female characters. This is like just generic woke Hollywood schlock, and we see through this. And then he decided to like attack them as closeted misogynists in an interview with Variety, I think. So it's good to see Arnold admitting the truth here, that the movie sucked and it was not well written.